Every summer for the past few years, the combos on our back patio bloom with these little bright flowers that peek out from in and around the trailing plants in some of my pots. And these are the Soiree Kawaii Catharanthus that I get in my Suntory sample boxes. And I really do look forward to planting them every year now that I've kind of figured out what they like and what they don't. But what I didn't know is that this series has been celebrating 10 years in 2026 and now includes 10 colors. So I'm thinking of that as like 10 and 10. And Suntory's North American Sales and Product Manager, Lorentina Fielding, is here to tell us all about what the company has in store for Soiree Kawaii's anniversary year, as well as a little bit about how to grow these plants and how to be really successful in production. That's why it's really cool to have Lorentina, because she can cover both sides of that coin. Unlike a lot of folks who might focus on either production or the marketing story, Lorentina knows both. So Lorentina, welcome back to the podcast, because this is the third time that we've recorded together, and it's great to have you back. How are things going?
Good. Thank you so much for having us again. We've started to really enjoy these podcasts, so we appreciate you having us back.
Awesome. And I know the listeners do as well. So where have you been traveling lately?
So May really marks kind of the beginning of my busy season. So I just got back from Japan a couple weeks ago, and then I'm on the Southern Garden Tour now, wrapping up at Metrolina end of this week. And then next week we'll head out to flower trials in Europe. And then kind of just everything else from that point on.
You're all over the world. That's cool. What were you doing in Japan?
So every year, roughly around week 21 is when we do most of our annual selections. And we also have a global meeting. So literally everybody from Suntory is at our research facility. So we have a lot of really great discussions, meetings, long days. But we go through the greenhouses and the trial fields and just kind of discuss like, okay, what looks good for coming up, what's coming down the pipeline. The breeders really like to pick our brains, for our markets and stuff like that. So it's usually a really, really good week. And we usually spend about a solid 2 days, like 12, 13 hours altogether. So yeah, it's really good. This is our second time that we've actually had like globally every single person there. And we've definitely seen the benefits for it. So
that's cool. That's really cool. And I know that like when I talk to you and Delilah and other folks at Suntory over the years, there has always been a really like a closeness between your breeders in Japan and the North American market and what our market here is looking for versus other markets around the world. So that's really cool that you guys get a chance every year to spend some one-on-one time really learning about each other and what each group is working on. And then I'm sure that results in really good products coming to market here in North America.
Yeah, absolutely. And the breeders definitely have their work cut out for them because each region kind of wants something different or needs something different for their demographics. So definitely hats off to them for how successful they are being able to pull it off.
Awesome. And hats off to both you, to your whole team, because you guys do always have some really cool products. It was fun to see them at spring trials this year. So let's start with, we're going to talk about Soiree Kawaii specifically. So I'm kind of interested in why you and your entire team, could be North American team, global team, really like Soiree Kawaii and where you think it fits into our market based on how growers have successfully positioned it, because you've had this now for 10 years. I'm sure you've learned a lot about it. And I will admit that it did take me a couple tries to find the right place for it in my own yard. But how do you guys position this? Where does it go?
Yeah, I think at first, when it first came out, it was kind of like, I can remember being a large grower when it first came out. We were sent it as part of our trials for our trial garden. And it was like, is this vinca? What is this? It was kind of confusing. And we've always tried to call it Catharanthus just to be able to like set it that much aside from your regular seed vinca, because it is so different, that we say tiny but terrific as kind of our tagline for it. So they really are really small flowers, but the flower power, I'm sure as you've seen in your home garden pots as well, is it's just nonstop. So I think it's taken, just as it did for you, I think it's taken a lot of growers some time to really figure out where it's slotted for programs. We push it a lot for, like border plant. They do really great as a border plant. I usually say like anywhere you would use a penta, you could use these, because really you're going to get more color power out of them. And then also too, just like you're doing at home with your sample packs, the combinations have been really awesome with these. Both like as colors within itself as a category. So like mixing the few colors together, or mixing it like we do a lot of combinations with Diplodynia or Mandevilla, kind of like skirting it at the bottom. It mixes really well with Scaevola. We haven't done a whole lot with like petunias and stuff like that. One, just because of the heat requirements, and then also the water requirements. These really do like to be a little bit drier. So I think in those capacities, they don't get very tall. So, it's not going to be like your thriller in a combination.
Right.
It's definitely kind of that filler aspect if you want to go with those. But yeah, they're amazing at border plants just because they are so what I like to call roundy moundy. They're very mushroom shaped naturally. And just really dense in color. So I would say one of the better ones of our soiree category.
That's cool. And I wish, I would use them as a border plant. I don't know that our season, I don't know. If I was in Texas or down where Chris Beatty's is in Florida, I feel like I would be much more apt to use it in the landscape. But for me, it works so well in combos. That's probably where I'll continue to use it. But I really do get a sense just from you talking about it that it is a very versatile plant. I like how you said tiny but terrific. That doesn't always go along with versatility, but it definitely, I think that the Soiree Kawaii are very versatile. So before we get into some of your production tips based on how you've seen it growing across the country around North America, what does the supply chain look like on this plant? Like, do a lot of growers propagate from URCs? Are most of them buying liners in? Are they doing both? And then where do the inputs come from? And for growers buying in liners, is there a particular size that you'd recommend?
Yeah, so these are just like a lot of our other annuals available as URC. Right now, the only farm we have that actually can ship into the U.S. Is a Nova plant out of Costa Rica. So back in, let's see, I guess it was 2025, like week 7, 2025, USDA APHIS just said, hey, no more for Mexico. And so the farms in our Mexico farms and partners there have really been working hard to kind of change that. But, you kind of can just only go as fast as the government agency is going to let you go, right? So right now, unfortunately, it's in the hands between the Mexican government and our government agencies. And that's kind of where it's at. But we are hopeful that they'll be able to add it back. So it used to be we had 4 sources. Right now for URC, it's just 1, but a Nova plant does a really great job and they have a really high capacity. Luckily, these plants produce a ton of cuttings per plant. Their branching is really nice, and then they do like maintenance cutting and stuff to be able to hold on to that. So we don't have any kind of shortages that we're worried about coming out of there. So no issues there. And then liners, there are some growers that source liners. Again, essentially any liner producer can produce these through URC. So if they have like a trusted, loved liner grower that they have, they're able to just order the URCs and route them for them. We do have a few champions of them, I would say. And really the best size for these, I think, would be like your 105-72.
Okay.
Sunfire Nursery out of Sarasota, they do sometimes offer a 21 cell if you request it. It's kind of large. That's like a 3 1/4 inch pot.
Yeah.
For these,
it's like pre-finished almost.
Yeah, essentially. But if maybe a northern grower is really trying to get ahead and just like push these really fast early into the summer season, kind of up where you are, Bill, then, maybe that would be a jump start for them. But definitely, I mostly see it in like that 72-105 type size.
Okay. That's cool. I like to let the listeners know where they can find the crops that we talk about. Yeah, we all know. And Nova Plant's a great offshore producer. So
absolutely.
If you work with the Nova Plant, definitely a good source for these URCs. And then, like Lorentina said, if you want your favorite rooting station to start rooting them, request. And but you should be able to find these from most brokers, I would think, for spring production. So let's talk a little bit about the production. What have you learned over the years working with this crop? And you mentioned that you guys were growing them when you were in production, and now that you've sort of watched the product and product management. What are some of the nuances and maybe some of your top tips for success with Soiree Kawaii?
So I think the biggest issues I see, I guess, would, especially in rooting, would be like the temperature requirement and the light requirement. So they definitely, they're very interesting in the fact that if it's cold, they don't necessarily die, but they'll just sit there.
Hmm.
And so I get a lot of questions from growers, and brokers are like, hey, what's going on? I'm like, okay, I promise if you pump heat to it, or once the weather breaks, like it'll just take off, but it gets really unhappy. It truly is more of a summer tropical product, right? Just like most vincas. So for rooting, we typically say, you want, I guess a good way to explain it, and this is how I explain it to my growers as I'm traveling around and talking, is they kind of require the same thing as like a sun patient.
Okay.
So really same conditions as a sun patient, which I know almost every grower has grown a crop of
Right.
sun
Yeah,
patients.
no, that's a good reference point.
Awesome product, yeah. But it'll just be longer. So sun patients don't root quite as long. They're pretty quick turn on in propagation. These will just be closer to like a 5-week propagation time. So we say, but like for rooting, if you're keeping it between like 75, 80, they're the most happy. I know that's not possible for everybody, but most growers will have like at least a little section of their propagation that they're keeping pretty warm for other
Yeah.
stuff. So I haven't really run into anybody being like, there's no way I could do that,
So
for
propagate them in the warm house.
yeah. And then, night temperatures 65, 60, usually okay. So it's really more about the average day temperature.
Anything else that growers need to like watch out for? Is there, I mean, are they naturally compact? Are you like PGRing these or?
No, they really are naturally compact.
Okay.
They do branch really naturally on their own as well. I do usually suggest almost on most of our products, but if you can just do like a small pinch, a couple weeks before you're transplanting, and then maybe another pinch about 2-3 weeks after transplant. Not necessarily like required, but you're definitely going to get a much like fuller plant. But then after that, they're just going to rock and roll and like do their own thing. So pretty easy. Yeah. I always just say like that mushroom, like roundy moundy shape. They're really, really, that's truly how they naturally want to grow. And then the other thing I would say, like you're asking about nuances, they definitely do like benefit from a drier period. So they do not like to be really wet. And so I know I can remember being a grower and a propagator, like you might have growers that are a little heavier handed on water. So just watch that with these. That is one of the things that will kind of set them into crash mode. So just put them on your benches that need a lot less water.
Okay. No, that makes sense. And then 10 colors, are they pretty uniform?
Yeah. So the only one that I would say is out of uniform of the other ones is let's see, it would be the coral. And that was one of the first 3 colors.
Sure.
It's a little bit more vigorous than the other ones. I say a little bit because it's not like double the size or anything. But it does definitely get bigger and taller. We kept that one in the mix because a lot of landscapers use it like on its own. They just really like that color and that vigor. And so when we came out with Coral Reef, which was kind of set to be the replacement, they were like, well, and so we've done well having both, and then just really educating people the difference of those. But the other ones all pretty much slot in perfectly to one another. So
cool. Is this ongoing breeding for you guys?
yes, absolutely.
That's cool. So thinking about like retail packaging and promotion, how have you seen Soiree Kawaii sold most successfully at garden centers? Is it like a quart product or like what?
Yeah,
what have you seen?
probably on its own. I think the most successful I've seen it is in a quart product.
Okay.
Usually in like more of the premium packaging, depending on the retailer that you're at. Rarely ever see it in just like a black pot, right? Like, so it's usually in like that retailer's kind of more higher priced branding, however that looks for, IGCs, the big boxes, all that kind of stuff. And then also too, we see them a lot in combinations. So I think just as you have at home, people are slotting them pretty well for those combo pots, especially in the summer.
Yeah. And I think, put it with any other sort of heat loving tropical type plants in a combo, and they're going to play well together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So let's talk about some of the cool and fun things that you guys are doing to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Soiree Kawaii. Because I read, and it was cool, you and Delilah sent me some information so I could study up on this product and some of the promotion that you're doing. And so I was just interested in this Girls Inc. program, which is like this nonprofit organization that a portion of the royalty is going to go to. And when I clicked on it and started reading about this organization, I was like blown away. They were legit established after the Civil War.
Yeah,
Like,
they've been around for
I
a
read
really
that. I was like, wait, what? And then I looked into it a little bit more. It was like 1864. I was like, oh, wow, this has been around a long time. And it's like, it's an organization that teaches leadership skills to girls. Something, I mean, I'm the father of 2 daughters. I think that's so important and so cool. So and I'm sure there's a lot more to the story, but how did you guys pick this organization? Tell me a little bit about why you guys support Girls Inc. and maybe how like growers or retailers can tell the story. I just threw a bunch at you right there, but
Yeah,
Girls
no,
Inc. is
that's
the
okay.
organization. Tell me about that, how that evolved.
Yeah, no. So I guess it was about 7 or 8 years ago, maybe. So kawaii means cute in Japanese.
Okay.
That's the direct translation. And so if you kind of know Japanese marketing, it's very cutesy. There's like, little caricatures or little girls or, just people and stuff like that. It's very, very cutesy marketing. And so we were trying to kind of bring some of that to this brand. And so we had like developed this kawaii girl. And with that, we really want, obviously we do plants, all that kind of stuff, but we definitely recognize that there's more than just the bottom line, right?
Mm-hmm.
To everything. And so Delilah was searching around for just different organizations. And, of course you have like Girl Scouts and this and that. And we definitely wanted to target, like a younger type organization. Well, she found Girls Inc. and we all started kind of researching. And just like you said, we were like kind of blown away by how long they've been established, how many chapters they have, and just really what they do, like they will like help. And it's all ages, girls, like all the way up to 18. So like they're helping with interviews for jobs or college interviews or just life skills and like after school and summer programs and all that kind of stuff, all at local chapter levels. So it really like resonated with all of us. And that's kind of how we landed on Girls Inc., I guess, if you will. And since then, we've done a few different things, but, a portion of our royalty for all of the sales of Soiree Kawaii does go back to Girls Inc. every year. So we do give them a check at the end of the season once we've collected royalties. And so that's been a really great partnership. Girls Inc. is an amazing organization. They do a lot of good things for, I would say, mostly kind of inner city, lower income type areas, but they do have some chapters just in general. And it's not like it's like limited to those kind of people or, that demographic. And so, no, it's been really, really great. So I think we're going on maybe 6 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Delilah will probably end up correcting me on that, but I think it is 5 or 6 years now.
That's awesome. I'll put a link to Girls Inc. in the show notes because I do encourage folks listening, just check out this organization, whether or not you're buying Soiree Kawaii, hopefully you are, but even if you're not, like this is just one of those organizations that I think it's good just to have some awareness of the impact.
Yeah, you might have an organization close to you that you didn't even know about.
Yeah.
So, that's really good. And then what was the other thing you asked me about? On top of that,
it was really just that, like how you guys came to find Girls Inc. as a partner and in that relationship. So one of the other things you guys are doing for this 10th anniversary is really pushing. Well, I don't know if it's for the 10th anniversary, but you're pushing this red, white, and blue combo theme using the different colors in the series. And I was guessing that's probably reflecting the 250th birthday of our country. But talk a little bit about that and just Soiree Kawaii in general in combos, because you got 10 colors. Got to believe you've got some good combo recipes.
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing directly with the brand, we did celebrate. Delilah worked on kind of doing like a whole rebranding. So all of the marketing material and branding for the soiree, all of the soiree lines. But specifically, we're talking today about the Kawaii. So they all kind of got an upgrade. And we felt like after 10 years, kind of celebrate that and do a little bit of a revamp there. So that is something we do. But we have been focusing, as I think maybe everybody has this year, on the red, white, and blue for the 250th. So I am not going to give away the surprise, but there will definitely be something super awesome to check out at the top of the escalators at Cultivate using the Kawaii. So we're definitely really excited about that project. And then, I think probably what you're talking about is we have the Lady Liberty branded combo.
Yeah.
So that is our blueberry kiss, red shades, and white peppermint all mixed together. It's a really, really great summer combo, especially just in like a little 8-inch color pot. Or if you want to like drop in like a red mandevilla in the center, or something like that. We've been doing a lot of that kind of combination as well. So, and then we also have our berry blast. It's not red, white, and blue, but it's also a really good combo. Our GM TJ Higgins always says it looks like it should be like a coloration of Tic Tacs or something.
Nice.
Just the way the colors are. It's a little bit more monotoned as far as the colors are, but it's a beautiful combination as well.
So I would say growers, if you have Soiree Kawaii in the greenhouse, it's probably a good idea to maybe put together some of these combos because it is like perfect for tabletop decor for summer parties. And I was just thinking we're having a graduation party at our house this coming Friday, and it would have been awesome to have. Like that would have been the perfect plant to put on the tables. But I think like there's still plenty of time to take what you have in production and make tabletop combos for 4th of July and things like that. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially in the South where we've already started really heating up early this spring season.
And then speaking of combos, you guys, I noticed in some of the promotional material you sent over that you guys are promoting a couple of container design challenges too, right? Tell me about those.
Yeah, so that's something we've done with a few other of our brands as well. So this year especially, so roughly about a dozen container designers. They're all part of this organization that's called Digging In.
Okay.
So we kind of partnered with Crescent Garden, and they received a really large container from Crescent Garden, and then we've sent them two or three 21 cell, like I mentioned earlier, just to be able again to kind of get that jump start. Like we're going to send you something a little bit bigger than you would normally get just for this particular thing. So essentially, it's up to them how to use the material that we send and, adding into other stuff and however. And then there's a bunch of social media hype around it. And then there'll be like voting. And then there's a winner, there's like after the voting has been tallied and everything. So we've done this also with Granvia. We just did that this fall. It's been really successful, and it's really cool to see like how different minds will take the same product and utilize it. So that's been really cool for something. So I'm really excited to see how these container designers utilize Kawaii.
No, I think that's awesome. And are they going to use them with other plants too? So it's kind of whatever they want to do.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the thing is like here we're gonna send you our material, and then if you want to mix it with grass or there's been nobody's design is the same. So however their creative mind is flowing is what they're using, but the catch is that like you have to at least use some of what we send you, right? And so, that's been a really, really good thing. Delilah is so good at finding all those kind of opportunities. And all the credit goes to her on the marketing type stuff.
For sure. But I mean, it's that sort of influencer culture that's driving consumer behavior these days.
True.
So I love that you guys leverage that because not a lot of companies do, but you guys are doing it really well and have been for longer than most. So that's awesome. And it'll be fun to kind of follow that. So the group's called Digging In. And I'm sure that we'll hear more about that social media campaign or see pictures in upcoming promotional materials from Suntory because you guys always do that well. Cool. All right. Let's wrap up by talking about, actually, I do have one more question after this. So we're not quite going to wrap up yet. Okay. But for now, let's talk a little bit about Cultivate because like you said, there is something coming that you're not going to tell us about at the top of the escalators. But I know that you guys do always have awesome displays at the show. Your booth is always themed to the hilt. It's one of the most fun booths that I always go and seek out on day one, mostly to see you guys and talk to you guys, but also to see what you have going on. I remember you guys have had like campers. You've had like some of the coolest displays over the years. So I know you have big plans. What should the listeners expect to see in Columbus this July from Suntory?
Yeah. So at the show, the past couple years, we've really started highlighting the new stuff, especially because I think it's not we're not always able to show everybody, right, throughout the season. And not everybody can make it to like the regional trials and stuff like that. So we've definitely been trying to be better about showing the new stuff, but then also, okay, here's the new item. Here's kind of its sisters within the brand, or, like, for example, we have a new heavenly petunia.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'll show like the whole series together just so you can really see how they all fit all in one. So our displays, and then so we've also been really good the past few years, kind of something that I said, hey, if we really try to show people how to utilize our brands all together. So not just showing, hey, here's the new Diplodenia, here's the new Vinca, that kind of thing. But really how a consumer or a grower could utilize all of our genetics together. So we've been doing a really good job of putting, like, we have these concepts tables. So whatever that means, whether it's just 3 petunias together, different colors, or if it's all of our different genres together. So that's been really exciting to see. Sometimes on paper, I will put some combinations together and I think, oh, this is going to be awesome. And then it doesn't pan out so well. And that's part of it, right?
Right.
But there are oftentimes where, as I'm going through the plan and I put stuff together, and then we kind of see it throughout the growing season up to delivery at the show. It's like, oh, this is awesome, So lots of great pictures. I know Delilah puts them a lot in the e-blast, in the catalog, different printed material and stuff. So that's been really exciting. The past couple of seasons, we have not gone as wild as you have talked about in the past with the displays. But I think just the amount of color and light kind of in our booth really brings people in.
Well, yeah. And I mean, there's always a time to shine a spotlight on the plants. And you guys have had some pretty cool introductions over the last few years. So it doesn't surprise me that a lot of the attention is turned to the plants. And you mentioned the heavenly. It was funny. Just a couple of days ago, we were pulling photos for our magazine coverage for the, I don't know, probably the July or August issue. And I was flipping back through the photos I took at spring trials, and those heavenlies are fantastic.
Yeah, especially the cashmere pink. That one was new last year, and that one is, I've had like specific requests from trial growers and stuff for that one, even though it's not new this year. So yeah, we've been really excited about that introduction. So
definitely. And I was happy to get Granvia. Is it white, or it's a white color in the sample that's white, right? Like a white
the white improved. Yeah.
I was pretty psyched to get that because those are always some of my favorite to grow because they're fun to touch.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Real quick, I just wanted to circle back because you mentioned that there were other soirees in the collection. So we talked about Kawaii, but what are the other soirees, just because we can't talk about the Catharanthus from Suntory without at least touching on the other one.
Yeah, so Soiree is kind of our umbrella for all of the Catharanthus, and then we have 3 subcategories. So today, of course, we talked in depth about the Kawaii, but we also have the Soiree doubles and the Soiree flamencos. So the doubles are a larger flower. They don't have quite the flower power that the Kawaiis do, but you still get a lot of color just because of that double flower. Really, really nice in baskets. We do have a new one for next year, the rosy red. So I think a lot of summer, you can now do kind of a red, white, and blue combination within the doubles. Yeah. So that was a really exciting introduction. And then the flamencos kind of get their name from, if you've ever seen like the flamenco dancers, their skirts are super ruffly and really, really bold, bright colors. So that's kind of where the inspiration on that name came from. So these are, again, a little bit larger flower, not quite as large as like a Cora type, if you're familiar with those, but they're kind of ruffly.
I was going to say, it's a very different flower
it is very
form.
different. Yeah. So those kind of just a novelty, right, within the Vinca Catharanthus category. And those I have seen actually do really, really well planted in the ground. So they're great in pots, but they're also really great planted, which you don't always get that, potted also good in the ground.
Right.
That's not the case for all plants. So that was really, really refreshing to see. So yeah, we have some really awesome kind of unique colors in that category as well. So all of them are really active breeding categories for the breeder. So we're anticipating some pretty cool stuff coming down the pipeline in all 3 categories.
That's awesome. And I know that there's definitely a trend toward tropical anything in plants. So it doesn't surprise me. Well, I'm glad that's ongoing breeding, and I expect like my brain tells me that the soirees are going to become more and more popular over the next, say 5 years, just because of this big trend toward tropical colors, tropical heat loving plants. Obviously, you guys know a heck of a lot about tropical plants at
Yeah.
Suntory, some of the best in the market. But this, I think, fits right into that. So it was really fun to hear more about all three series, but especially the Kawais. So thank you so much for all the great Soiree Kawaii production info. I always like talking to you because you talk like real world grower stuff about how to produce these plants successfully, and then all the cool things that you and the Suntory team are doing to celebrate the plant's 10th anniversary. So as we close, is there anything we missed? Is there anything you want to reiterate? And then where can listeners find out more about Suntory products or reach out with questions?
I think really we covered everything. We
Awesome.
Yeah, your questions were good, and with everything like that. So all of our information is always at suntoryflowers.com. There's tons of links at the top, all specific to marketing material if you need that, or supply sources. Our catalog is there online as well. That's the first link there down below the header. So yeah, tons of information. Then of course, you're always welcome to reach out to any of us on the North American team with questions. We're always here to answer.
Awesome. I will put links to those in the show notes. I'm also going to put a link to sign up for the eBlast. I'll find it because it's very consistent and it always has good information in it. So it's not junk mail. It's really good stuff. So
yeah, it's awesome.
I'm going to put a link to that as well because you mentioned it and it occurred to me hopefully people are signed up for that. So awesome. Once again, Lorentina, thank you so much. I always appreciate your willingness to jump on a podcast during your busy travel season. I mean, you're not even at home right now and you're jumping on a podcast to talk through it with me. I love your dedication, and I'm sure that we will catch up again soon, definitely in Columbus, maybe before then. Take care.
Awesome. Thank you.
And I'm Bill Calkins with Tech on Demand. Subscribe to the podcast. That way you'll never miss an episode. You'll hear more great episodes like this one. We talk production, we talk marketing, we'll talk just about anything flower and plant related. So on behalf of the entire team at Suntory and the team at Ball Publishing, thanks. Take care out there. Have a great summer.